Hey guys, what is going on? This is German Gunner 123. Now, today I'll be doing a very unorthodox video based on my channel. So, as you guys know, I mainly upload FIFA videos. What you guys may not know is that I absolutely love movies. Now, a few weeks ago, I watched Transformers 4 Age of Extinction, and this, honestly, I can tell you, once I walked out of the theater, I said to myself, this is the worst movie I have ever seen. And that is a fact now. Because this movie was so bad, and to a movie watcher like me, I was seriously irritated by it. So I'm here to talk to you guys today about why it sucked so bad. Of course, this is just my opinion. If you did enjoy Transformers 4, then that's great for you. But if you have not seen this movie, I do warn you, there are spoilers ahead. So if you're interested to find out about my thoughts, grab some popcorn and let's get right into it. So the first aspect of this movie I'll talk about is the human characters. I'll delve into that as I discuss the plot of the movie. So, as you've seen from the trailers, obviously Mark Wahlberg's character gets Optimus Prime. Basically, Mark Wahlberg is a junk collector, and he collects all this weird junk, and he's like re-engineering them, and he's sort of like a mechanic. And he has this daughter named Tessa. And the third guy in the picture there is Mark Wahlberg's friend. He's sort of like a bum. He doesn't show up on work on time, and he's like really messy. So yeah. So Mark Wahlberg basically, he's messing around with Optimus Prime, then boom, Optimus Prime comes to life and he aims a cannon at these three characters. And that took me back a bit. I was like, wait, aren't you supposed to be the good guy? What are you doing? Why are you trying to shoot the humans? So it is explained that after the Chicago War that happened in Transformers 3, all the humans or the government or whatsoever started hunting down Autobots and Decepticons because they saw them as a threat to humankind because they were causing too much damage and all that. So, I was sort of buying it at this point, but the thing about the human characters was that Michael Bay clearly tried to force the character development, because obviously in the previous three Transformers movies we didn't really care about Shia LaBeouf's character or Megan Fox's character. If they had died, the story could have carried on. But in this movie, Michael Bay was trying so hard to get us to care about these characters, and he could have done that in the first 10 or 15 minutes. The thing was, he took 30 minutes to do it, and I still couldn't care less about these human characters, especially the third guy, because he was absolutely useless to the storyline. So soon we find out that the government is still hunting down these Autobots and Decepticons, and guess how they're doing it? They're getting the help of a Transformer. He's the guy in the trailers you saw with the gun on his face. His name is Lockdown. The government has basically hired him to take down all Autobots and Decepticons. He's basically a bounty hunter for planet Cybertron. That's what he is. And I found his character really cool, but if the government wants to capture all Transformers alike, meaning they cannot trust any of these Transformers, what makes them think that they can trust Lockdown? Why don't they think at any moment Lockdown may turn around and point a gun at their faces and just blast all of them off? That's something I found really odd. So these were the first three characters we see, and soon after that we are introduced to more useless characters, and basically one of them ends up being quite relevant to the story, but I'm going to delve into that right now. So the character I'm talking about is actually this guy named Shane. He appears relevant to the story towards the end, but it really was covered with all these gratuitous nonsense explosions and stuff like that. But let me explain to you how Shane was introduced to the story. He's basically Tessa's boyfriend. Shane was protecting Tessa and Mark Wahlberg and the bum character. So he's some professional race car driver. And the thing was, the government had spotted Optimus Prime, so they were hunting down Mark Wahlberg and Tessa and these characters. And basically, Mark Wahlberg tried to defend Optimus Prime, and then, Optimus Prime did his thing. He was like, "Hey, don't shoot them. I'm here. Bam, bam, bam. Michael Bay explosions." So that's what we got. And then we are introduced to Shane. Shane was really bland. I felt he was quite useless. He didn't do much, although the storyline sort of needed him. But he as a character didn't really do much for me. So what they did, Michael Bay did, was he took Mark Wahlberg and he put Shane in there, sort of like in a weird girlfriend's father's relationship, that sort of thing. So Mark Wahlberg was like, "Wait, this is your boyfriend? I didn't approve of that." And then Shane was like, "No, yes, sir." So that sort of thing. It's a weird relationship. And that really didn't work in a Transformers movie, because what do we want to see in a Transformers movie? We want to see Optimus Prime and Bumblebee blowing things up. That's not what we get. This is this useless romance that really doesn't impact anything. So these characters escape from the government, and then during all of this, Lockdown is like chasing Optimus Prime and chasing them, and Lockdown shoots this bomb and kills the bum character. Now, if Michael Bay had done better in the character development, we would have been like, "Oh no, he's dead." But no, I couldn't care less. I was like, okay, that's one less character to care about. Really, Michael Bay did not do a good job with the character development. And that was what really took away the aspect of caring for the characters for me. So then we move on to this like gas station scene when Mark Wahlberg is like becomes all spy mode, and he and Optimus Prime and Tessa and Shane are together now, and they are trying to like get to the bottom of this government nonsense. So they go all this espionage mode, and then they try and like find the root of it. So that's when we are introduced to Stanley Tucci's character. So Stanley Tucci's character is basically this guy who works for this company called KSI. So KSI, their company, it builds fake Transformers. Not really fake, but they have created the material taken from like Megatron, because they've like taken Megatron's head, they've gotten it, and they're like taking the cells out of it, and they're rebuilding it into new Transformers. I hated the new Transformers because the graphics were so bad on them. The way they transform wasn't like Optimus Prime or Bumblebee. The way they transform was like they broke down into like 10,000 cubes, and then they floated around the air, and then they found a spot where they wanted to reform, and then they transformed back into Transformers. It looked so fake. It looked like it used a budget of like $10. It looked like I could do it on iMovie right now. It looks so fake. And Stanley Tucci, you could see he's like moving his hands. It's so clear. It's CGI on top of people. And obviously throughout the whole movie, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are CGIs. But that doesn't correlate because those actually look quite good. But this looks so fake, and it looks so lazy the way they did it. And that really just was so irritating. So that was basically all Stanley Tucci did. He built these robots. And, the Transformers are trying to get to the bottom of it, which I don't see the reason for that. They just randomly storm into KSI, and they're like boom, boom, boom. They thrashed the whole place, and then I didn't see the point of that. Why did they suddenly freak out like that? It's such a random subplot, just randomly forced into the movie by Michael Bay. So some of the new robots in this movie, they were the ones that sort of like trashed into KSI, the ones that help out Mark Wahlberg and his team. So we have this Japanese transformer, we have this sort of like British transformer, that's the green one. The Japanese one is obviously the one furthest to the left. He's got that samurai sword and everything. So the British one, he was like the pessimistic one. Everything they did, he'd be like, what if we get killed in this and that? And of course, Bumblebee and Optimus Prime returns. Then you got this big fat guy, big fat transformer with beard and everything. So these were the new Transformers. And there's this one scene where, after they've trashed KSI, Stanley Tucci is like, okay, send the new Transformers to go after them. Let's see what they can do. So these new Transformers, they chase after them. The 2 new Transformers, I didn't see how 2 could take on 5, but whatever. And that scene was so ridiculous, so rushed. I couldn't believe it. It was just like, it was as if I made the movie, and I had like a 10 million budget, 10 million is quite little compared to what Mark Wahlberg had, probably like 20 gajillion dollars. But anyway, we're drifting off the point here. That scene was just so stupid because there was some nonsense going on in there, which I'm just going to explain in a bit. So basically what happens is that these Transformers, they disappeared. I know it doesn't make sense, but let me explain to you what happens here. The 2 new Transformers are chasing the main ones, right? And so as they are chasing them, somehow out of nowhere, the Japanese one, British one, Bumblebee, and the fat one, they absolutely disappear to nowhere. Like, I don't know where they went. It appears as if the scene just forgot about them. They sort of like in the background of the scene for the first like 15 seconds, then like somehow the scene forgets about them. And I thought maybe they fled, but if they had fled, they would have taken Mark Wahlberg and his 2 characters, right? But no, they just disappeared, which was such a strange scene to me. So then Lockdown catches up to Optimus Prime, and he like grabs Optimus Prime, and Tessa is basically stuck in this car. She's hiding in the car, and in the car, the Lockdown, he just picks up Optimus Prime along with the car. So then he takes Tessa as well. And Mark Wahlberg, he's like freely ripped by this because his daughter's been taken away. But I didn't see that. I mean, if my daughter was taken away, I'd be like, no, it's the end of the world. But Mark Wahlberg is just like, dang it, it's gone. She's gone. And then Shane doesn't really care as well. So, and by this point you can pretty much expect what happens next. What happens next is that Mark Wahlberg and Shane try to infiltrate this spaceship of Lockdowns to get back Tessa. This typical cliche alien plot. Then there's this, so they get her back, obviously, and then there's this absolutely ridiculous scene where they sort of like try to climb back to safety because like the ship has sort of like anchored itself to a building, so they're trying to climb onto the anchor ropes and get to safety onto the building. This was such a stupid subplot scene. Tessa is like, no, I can't climb there. Then there are like dogs behind her, like mechanical dogs. It was such a stupid and pointless scene, which was so irritating. Then, all the Transformers unite, they get to safety, they get away from the ship, and then, Lockdown is still hunting Optimus Prime. And then the next thing happens, which hurt my brain so much, so much. There is another subplot. There's another subplot. I mean, how many subplots can you have? That's what took up this movie so much and just wasted my time. So this other subplot was basically, remember how I said earlier they were using Megatron's cells to build new Transformers? So these Megatron cells sort of like take over the new Transformers, and then basically this new handmade Transformer turns into a reincarnation of Megatron. So even when Megatron is dead, we still have him to worry about. Then we get into this flurry of action, obviously, and this was the worst, absolutely worst, last 1 hour of my life. I mean, this was the worst hour of my life. This final 1 hour of the movie was, I felt like vomiting blood, I swear to God. It was absolutely dreadful. And basically, Lockdown is looking for Optimus Prime, while Megatron, his reincarnation, is called Galvatron. So Galvatron is hunting for some seed, which we are never shown, and we are never explained to what is the point of this seed. It just somehow is something that they're looking for, and then everything is happening, and then there's these explosions here and there. You don't know who's fighting who. I mean, like a typical Transformers movie, you don't know who's who. And the worst part was, there's this one moment when Stanley Tucci like has a bomb or something, and in this bomb, he's like, "I'm gonna blow up the Transformers, like the bad Transformers or whatever, something like that." And there's this, his business partner is like this Chinese lady. Now they're in China, by the way, for some reason. I don't know. This pacing of this movie was just terrible. So this Chinese lady, his business partner, she's like, okay, get the bomb to the roof. And all of a sudden, Stanley Tucci's attracted to her. I mean, I don't even know what's going on. She's like, get the bomb to the roof. And he's like, okay, but first, it was so creepy and so gross and all these things. It was such a dreadful movie. So that was basically just what happened before the end. And yeah, we're not even at the end yet. So I'm gonna have to get to that soon. So Galvatron is on your screen right now, and he was just such a useless villain. He opposed no real threat. He was just like this side character in all this nonsense action. And it was just such a mess, everything that happened, and this forced romance, and like this everything is going on, and you just can't keep track. Then in the end, there's this fight between Lockdown and Optimus Prime, and the bomb doesn't come into place until the end. Optimus Prime like blows him up, but Galvatron was just so useless to the plot, and Optimus Prime, riding his dinosaur, swinging his sword, in the end defeats Lockdown with the help of Mark Wahlberg. And that was basically the whole movie, and you can guess how it ends. I'm sure you can. Optimus Prime giving his incredible speech, because we will be back for more money in Transformers 5. More explosions. And yeah, that was basically the movie, but I still haven't talked about, I haven't really delved into one aspect yet. It's because this was the most annoying aspect for me throughout the movie. That is the Dinobots. The Dinobots was so bad in this movie. Obviously, when you watch the trailer, you're like, oh my god, Dinobots. Wow, I've just pissed myself. It's such, how can you go wrong? It is such a dwelling aspect, and you could just watch a movie based on Dinobots. I mean, seriously, it's so amazing. But let me basically tell you how they're formed. From whatever, this spaceship Transformer ancestors. Yeah, Remember Lockdown Spaceship? Well, Optimus Prime, he finds the ancestors of the Transformers. And basically, I don't know what is even happening. I'm gonna call them transistors because, whatever, screw it. These transistors, they basically turn into dinosaurs and they try to attack Optimus Prime. But somehow Optimus Prime is just like, no! Bow to my command. I mean, seriously, do you talk like that to your grandfather? I mean, no, they were just so suddenly forced in. I mean, they could have been put halfway through the movie, but they were just rushed in, like, in the last half an hour. It was as if Michael Bay was like, hey, I'm forgetting something. Alright, Dinobots. Yeah, we should put them in right now. And they really had no impact. He's riding this dinosaur, but they didn't do anything. They weren't awesome at all. They were useless. And that was such a waste because I was looking forward to seeing Dinobots in the whole movie. And I guess that's basically my entire talk of Transformers 4. So I said it at the start of the video, guys. I'm gonna say it again. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. And some of you might say, you just saying that because you're a hater or whatever. But no, I generally thought this movie was so dreadful, and it honestly is just the single worst movie I've ever seen, without a doubt. It just was so messy, so, you couldn't even tell what was going on, and some random plot points are just forced in here and there. But all in all, I can see why you like it, if you do like it, obviously. I don't, obviously, but everybody has their own opinion, and I just had to talk about this to get it off my chest, how bad it was. So thanks guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do leave it a like. If you did not enjoy the video because you're some Transformers geek and you're like hating on me for hating on your favorite show, then you can leave a dislike by all means. So thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe and peace out.